It seems to me that younger workers, and by that I mean those that are, relatively new to the workforce, have a very different outlook about work-life balance and how that impacts maybe their thinking about unionization. Do you think that as well? I mean, is that what's a part of what's happening?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I wish I thought like they did. They value things that I probably didn't in my work life or didn't know I had the option to do. But when we think about what motivates this younger generation, I don't know if it's Z or X, I get a little bit confused, but they're different than where I came from. Things that are important to them are things like flexibility, when they're going to work, where they're going to work, what their work conditions are like. They're also looking for a sense of belonging, right? They want to belong to something. So if they don't feel like they're part of the organization, part of the enterprise, if they're not being heard, they're going to look for somewhere else to do that. And that has to do with diversity and safety at work. And they're also looking for internal mobility. Where am I going next? We know all this information about the gig economy and wanting to do different things and having that flexibility. So I absolutely believe if they're not getting that or they don't perceive to be getting that in the workplace, they're going to look for a way to get it otherwise. And that's where that kind of unionization, is a union the answer to that? The other thing about this generation is they don't really have a history with unions. They weren't around. My grandfather was in a union. In our generation, we were closer to it. So we had this vision of unions being mainly manufacturing, in the factories, working, and they don't have that perspective. So they're just saying, oh, it's a group of people. They're going to get us better benefits. They're going to help us work better together. They're going to drive that transparency that we want. If we come together, and in this group, we'll be able to get more of what we want from the employer. And that may or may not be true.
Yep. You wonder how the traditional union sort of sees this new audience and goes, well, they want stuff out of us we've never done before also. We don't have.
And some of them are kind of going beyond that and finding non-traditional unions. They're forming their own unions, which I think is a challenge for employers who don't. Well, I think there's a lot of challenges for employers who don't understand kind of what that's going to look like at the bargaining table. Even the people coming to the bargaining table don't really know what to expect. I remember doing a union bargaining in my career. I did not work in a factory, but I was a leader of an organization that had unions. And at one point, I had one of our internal labor leader who dealt with all the bargaining, come to me and say, Deb, I need someone from your team to help be the business representative on this bargaining that we were doing with a particular union. And I said to him, Tim, I said, I'm going to do it. And he said, no. He said, I need someone on your team. And I said, look, Tim, in my career, I've never done this before. This happens to be relatively local. I want to do it. Like, I really want to get this experience. And it was fascinating. It was one of the best things I've ever done in my career. He was a masterful learner. So I learned so much from him, but it was very much a script. It was very orchestrated, and one side knew what the other side was going to do. And I don't know if that's what's going to happen now, because we don't have that sort of history.